We were talking on Ask the Pastor the other day, and I was going to mention this, but Brother Jerry Loudermilk had said it. He said, it's been said that you can either die once, be born twice and die once, or be born once and die twice. You can be born of woman, and you'll die and then die the second death. Or you can be born of woman and then be born again of the Spirit. And then you only die this physical death. See, that second death is not the thing that I want. Death simply means separation. When you die, you are separated from this body. If you die that second death, it means you're separated from God. I don't want to be separated from God. I want to walk with Him. I want to be like Enoch. The Bible says that he walked with God and was not. In other words, he walked so long and so close that God just took him away. Took him into heaven. Amen? Wouldn't it be nice to be like Abraham, who spoke to him face to face? Moses, who said, after seeing all these great miracles, he said, oh, but I want to see your glory. God said, I'll show you my hinder parts, and that was good enough. Just to see the hinder parts of God was good enough. Think about a God that is so full, so great, so grander, that just to see his hinder parts, just to see his trail as he walks by, will be enough to satisfy a man for his entire life. Blessed are they that hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. I want to see his face. I want to see his face. I want to hear his voice. I want to feel his pat on my back or on my head. I want the words of encouragement. Because I don't know about you, but there's been times that I've been so discouraged. I needed his encouragement. See, Satan, his goal is to discourage you. Because if he can discourage you, he can at least slow you down. Because he might not can keep you from going to heaven, but he can keep you from witnessing to others to take them with you. Are you listening to me? You say, well, I don't know how to witness. You portray Jesus everywhere you go. Just portray Jesus. Someone says, have Jesus, share him. Amen. When you start walking like Jesus, you start talking like Jesus, you start acting like Jesus, sometimes you don't have to say a word. Somebody said, share Jesus at every account and use words if necessary. Amen. The greatest testimony is not how much you talk. The greatest testimony is how you walk.
Right.
You've heard me tell, I'm going to say this and then I'm going to shut up for about 2 or 3 minutes. I have to be honest. When I was a young man, I was invited over to a coffee house to share my testimony. A couple years ago, Brother Brandon and I and Sister Barb and I forget who else had gone out to Brother Mike Payne's church. And Mike Payne started talking to me. He said, you remember that time that you and that other brother, he was talking about Gary Reed, said you set it up for us to go down there in Valley View at that tent for that Carl and Barnum. I didn't remember at the time. I do recall it now, but at the time I didn't remember it. But we were at that church service where the Paynes were singing that night. And I met a friend of mine there who knew this guy that ran a coffee house. And he told him about my testimony and how I came to Jesus. So he invited me, this man invited me to come to their coffee house to share my testimony. I'm sitting there, I'll never forget, I'm sitting on a folding chair, and this man got up to announce me, and he says, we have a young man here with us this evening that from my understanding, has a tremendous testimony. And the Lord spoke to me right there, and he said, your testimony is not what you were. Your testimony is who you are today. And from that day on, it's taken me a long time, Marlene, to write my book. Because from that day on, my testimony didn't mean so much to me. But when God spoke to me 2 years ago and told me to write the book, I've been writing it. I wrote it. Some of you know I told you recently. I wrote it and I hit the wrong button and lost it all. I was almost done. So I started again, and I just couldn't get in. I couldn't remember anything. All those memories that I'll be honest with you, those memories that I have to rehearse in my mind, some of them brings happiness and joy, but most of them brings disappointment because of the lifestyle I was living.
I could have retrieved it for you too.
But I started writing on that book, and I would maybe work 20 minutes a month for the last year and a half or a year, until the last week or so. God just put it in me, and now I have this new phone that when I talk in there, it types it. The other phone would do it, but the words would be jumbo, and you'd say one thing and it'd say something entirely different. But this phone, it gives me precise words. I have to go in and change a few things because this old hillbilly accent sometimes gets in the way. When I say because, it'll say cause, C-U-Z. Cause,
yeah.
I say because, and it says cause. But I've got more written, and I'm laying in my bed last night and I couldn't sleep, and all of a sudden I started thinking of a whole new chapter to write. I have to go back in there and write some more. Amen. But I'm almost finished with it. But like I said, for so many years, I kind of pushed it aside because God showed me that's not my testimony. My testimony is who I am. And even then, I had a lot of growing. Even then, I wasn't even prepared to go in the oven yet. How many of you know there's a lot of prep time before you put something in the oven?
Yep.
Sometimes I'll look at a recipe online, and it'll say 20 minutes prep time and 45 minutes in the oven. See, it was like 20 years of prep time and 45 years of oven time. See, I'm not complete yet. They're still working on me. They used to sing this song, He's Still Working on Me. Amen. It took him 6 days to make the moon and the stars, Jupiter and Mars. But he's still working on me. Thank God he's still working on us. Thank God. I used to go, when I worked for Roberts Express, I delivered to some of the assembly plants up in Michigan. Brandon works at GM, but it's not an assembly plant. What do they make, engines there?
No, stamping plant.
Stamping? Okay. Now I know the Ford plant is the engine plant. But when you go to the assembly plant, they have a line that they hook up those cars and they just pull those cars. You can see the car just going along. And the places that I've been were at the end, because I'm in shipping. I'm dropping off in shipping, and they're pulling those cars out, and a guy jumps in them and drives them out to this big lot where he has brand new cars sitting everywhere.